Hello, fellow gardeners, and welcome back to Smart Garden. If you've been following along on our journey to cultivate healthier, more productive gardens, today's episode is one you absolutely cannot miss. What if I told you that the secret to revolutionary soil isn't hiding in some expensive chemical formula or proprietary fertilizer blend, but rather in three humble materials you might already have lying around? Prepare to be amazed as we unveil the hidden power of biochar, cardboard, and clay. This unlikely alliance holds the key to a thriving garden ecosystem, and you won't believe the transformative impact they can have on your soil. So grab your favorite gardening gloves, settle in, and let's dig deep into this game-changing soil solution. Before we explore the solution, we need to understand the problem that's plaguing gardens everywhere. You see, many of us spend countless hours tending our plants, watering diligently, and adding fertilizers, yet our gardens still underperform. The leaves yellow prematurely, growth is stunted, and yields disappoint. We blame ourselves, the weather, or bad seed stock, but rarely do we look beneath the surface at what's really happening in our soil. The truth is, your garden might be suffering from an invisible struggle, a silent crisis happening right under your feet. Modern gardening practices have conditioned us to focus almost exclusively on nutrients, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, the famous NPK ratio printed on every fertilizer bag. But here's what most gardeners don't realize. Nutrients are only part of the equation. Your soil could be loaded with nutrients, but if the structure is wrong, if water retention is poor, if aeration is lacking, or if microbial life is absent, those nutrients become essentially useless to your plants. Think of it like having a pantry full of ingredients but no functioning kitchen to cook with. The food is there, but you can't access it in a meaningful way. What's worse is that traditional gardening methods, particularly our heavy reliance on synthetic chemicals and constant tilling, have actually accelerated topsoil degradation. Every time we till, we're destroying the delicate networks of fungal hyphae and beneficial organisms that make soil truly alive. We're breaking down the very structure that holds moisture and nutrients in place. Chemical fertilizers might give us a quick green up, but they do nothing to build long-term soil health. In fact, they often make things worse by killing off the microbial communities that plants depend on for nutrient uptake. We're stuck in a cycle of dependency, constantly adding more inputs just to maintain mediocre results. Now let's talk about the first element of our soil solution, biochar. If you haven't heard of this material yet, you're about to discover something truly revolutionary. Biochar is a charcoal-like substance created through a process called pyrolysis, where biomass, things like wood chips, agricultural waste, or even coconut shells, is heated in a low-oxygen environment. This isn't ordinary burning, it's a controlled transformation that locks carbon into a stable, incredibly porous structure that can persist in soil for hundreds, even thousands of years. The ancient Amazonians stumbled upon this technology centuries ago when they created what we now call terra preta, or black earth. These enriched soils remain extraordinarily fertile today, testament to biochar's longevity and effectiveness. When you examine biochar under a microscope, you'll see why it's so powerful. The structure resembles a sponge with countless tiny pores and channels, creating an immense surface area that acts as both a water reservoir and a luxury apartment complex for beneficial microorganisms. Here's where biochar truly shines. It dramatically improves nutrient retention through its high cation exchange capacity. In simple terms, biochar particles hold onto essential nutrients like calcium, magnesium, and potassium, preventing them from washing away with rain or irrigation. But unlike synthetic slow-release fertilizers, biochar doesn't just hold nutrients hostage, it makes them available to plants through the complex interactions with soil microbes that colonize its porous structure. These microorganisms essentially become the intermediaries, processing and delivering nutrients to plant roots in forms they can actually use. When it comes to practical application, sourcing quality biochar has become much easier in recent years. You can purchase it from garden centers, online retailers, or even make your own if you're adventurous and have the right setup. However, here's a critical tip that many gardeners miss. Never add raw biochar directly to your soil. Uncharged biochar will actually pull nutrients from your soil as it fills its empty pores, temporarily starving your plants. Instead, you need to charge it first by mixing it with nutrient-rich materials like finished compost, worm castings, or even soaking it in compost tea for several weeks. This preloading ensures that when biochar enters your garden, it's already carrying a payload of beneficial nutrients and microorganisms ready to go to work. Let's move on to the second element, one that seems almost too simple to be effective. Cardboard. Yes, those plain brown boxes piling up from your online shopping can become powerful allies in building extraordinary soil. Cardboard serves multiple functions simultaneously, making it one of the most underrated materials in regenerative gardening. First and foremost, cardboard is an exceptional weed suppressor. When you lay down a thick layer of overlapping cardboard sheets and wet them thoroughly, you create an impenetrable barrier that blocks sunlight from reaching weed seeds below. Unlike plastic mulch, which creates problems of its own, cardboard is completely biodegradable and actually improves your soil as it breaks down. This makes it perfect for establishing new garden beds using the no-dig method, where you're building soil health from the top down, rather than destroying structure through tilling. As cardboard decomposes, it contributes significant amounts of carbon and organic matter to your soil. This carbon feeds the entire soil food web, from the smallest bacteria to larger organisms like earthworms. Speaking of earthworms, they absolutely love the environment that cardboard creates. The dark, moist conditions underneath cardboard provide the perfect habitat for these incredible soil engineers. Earthworms tunnel through the soil, creating channels that improve both aeration and drainage while leaving behind nutrient-rich castings that plants adore. For successful cardboard integration, you need to follow a few key guidelines. Always use plain, brown, corrugated cardboard without glossy coatings, excessive tape, or colored inks. Remove any plastic tape and shipping labels. Overlap your cardboard sheets by at least 6 inches to prevent gaps where persistent weeds might sneak through. The most common mistake is not wetting the cardboard thoroughly. Dry cardboard can actually create a water-resistant layer that prevents moisture from reaching the soil below. So, soak it completely until it's saturated, then layer your amendments and mulch on top to keep it moist as decomposition begins. Now we arrive at perhaps the most misunderstood component of our soil trinity, clay. Many gardeners treat clay like a curse, something to be removed or overcome. If you've ever struggled with heavy, compacted clay soil that turns to concrete in summer and becomes a muddy swamp in winter, you understand this frustration. But here's what might surprise you. Clay itself isn't the enemy. In fact, when properly balanced with other soil components, clay provides benefits that no other material can match. Clay particles are microscopically small and have an enormous collective surface area. This gives clay an exceptionally high cation exchange capacity, meaning it can hold on to massive amounts of essential plant nutrients and release them slowly over time. A soil with adequate clay content is essentially a natural slow-release fertilizer system, buffering against nutrient deficiencies and preventing valuable minerals from leaching away. Clay also contains trace minerals that plants need in small quantities, but that are often absent from sandy or organic-only soils. The key to working with clay is balance. Pure clay soil is problematic because those tiny particles pack together so tightly that they exclude air and water movement. Roots struggle to penetrate, beneficial organisms suffocate, and drainage becomes nearly impossible. However, when you introduce amendments that create spaces between clay particles, this is where our synergy becomes truly magical. You transform clay's weaknesses into strengths while preserving all its benefits. For gardeners working with sandy soil that drains too quickly and can't hold nutrients, intentionally introducing some clay particles can dramatically improve performance. You can source bentonite clay or other soil-grade clays from garden suppliers. The trick is adding it gradually and in combination with organic matter and aerating amendments, which brings us full circle to why biochar and cardboard are such perfect partners for clay. Here's where everything comes together in beautiful harmony. When you combine biochar, cardboard, and clay, you're not just adding 3 separate amendments. You're creating an integrated system where each material amplifies the strengths of the others while compensating for any weaknesses. This is true synergy in action, and the results can genuinely transform your garden from struggling to thriving. Here's your step-by-step integration guide. Start by laying down your cardboard layer over the area you want to improve, overlapping edges generously and wetting thoroughly. Next, prepare your charged biochar by mixing it with high-quality compost in roughly equal parts and letting this combination sit for at least 2 weeks. Once your biochar is charged, create your soil amendment by combining it with additional compost, aged manure, or other organic matter at a ratio of about 1 part biochar to 3 to 4 parts organic material. Spread this mixture several inches thick over your cardboard layer. If you're working with heavy clay, incorporate additional biochar into the top few inches of existing soil where possible. If you're trying to improve sandy soil with inadequate nutrient retention, consider adding a moderate amount of clay along with your biochar and organic matter. The beauty of this system is its longevity. Unlike most soil amendments that provide benefits for a single season or two, this combination creates lasting change. The biochar persists for centuries, continuing to improve structure, retain nutrients, and house beneficial microbes long after you've harvested countless crops. The clay provides permanent nutrient holding capacity, and while the cardboard itself disappears within a year, it leaves behind improved structure, enhanced microbial populations, and the earthworm communities it attracted, which continue improving your soil indefinitely. Fellow gardeners, what we've explored today isn't just another gardening trick or temporary fix. This is about fundamentally transforming your relationship with soil and building something that lasts. When you implement this biochar, cardboard, and clay system, you're not just growing plants, you're cultivating a legacy of healthy, living soil that can nourish gardens for generations. If you found this guide valuable, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss our in-depth gardening solutions. Share this video with fellow gardeners who are ready to take their soil health to the next level. Drop a comment below telling us about your experiences with any of these materials or asking questions about implementation in your specific situation. Together, we're building a community of informed gardeners who understand that healthy soil is the foundation of everything we grow. Now get out there and start creating your ultimate soil solution. Happy gardening, and we'll see you in the next episode of Smart Garden.